The next portion of this project will be the design of the roadways. This will contain the design of the vertical alignment, the top of curb, the back of curb, the face of curb, the right-of-way lines, and the setback lines, all within the modeler's roadway tool. This tool takes us a step-by-step approach through defining the horizontal alignment, additional profile details, and finally the plan's production. We're going to open our preferences to show what's involved with the roadway tool preferences. There are 4 tabs. The horizontal tab defines the composite section, which we can either view or edit. The viewer shows us a section viewer of what the roadway, being a standard crown roadway in this section with standard half-foot curb and gutter, will look like. We can edit this composite section. Again, the viewer shows what the standard composite section will look like, and we can set specific details on the left side and on the right side of the center line. We're going to add this, of course, to a new object, and we're going to have 3 element types within this object. Our first is going to be our designed edge of pavement. This is going to be at a maximum distance of 16 foot off of the center line. When this line is found, we're going to use a method called a user slope to define this line at a negative 2% slope from the center line. That's going to be our edge of pavement. The next line over will be a section in which we're defining our curb and gutter. This will be our gutter line, this will be our curb top face, and this will be our curb top back. And the appropriate offset distances and elevations are all input into this section entry. And finally, the last entry contains our boundary, which is at a distance of 26 foot from the center line of the roadway. These details can be copied from the left side to the right side or transversely. And again, the viewer shows us either right side, left side, or both sides of the standard crown section. Which defines the horizontal aspect of this roadway. The vertical aspect is draped on a surface. We're going to define the existing surface as our existing ground file. Existing ground gets the dashed green symbology, while the proposed gets the solid red symbology. Next, we define a vertical scale at a 10:1 scale, and we have optional tabular data as well as additional profile elements we can place. The vertical design can be achieved either through a first pass using plan graphic symbology or by feature from the Design and Computation Manager. Also, a best fit vertical profile can be designed either along the control line or based off a composite from the property boundaries if they're specified. Design constraints, we have our desirable minimum vertical curve length and our absolute minimum vertical curve length. Once we get into this design, we're going to use the design tools for the vertical alignment generator. Finally, the cross sections are created. They're draped on the existing ground object. We're going to locate cross sections at a 50-foot increment. And we're going to specify an offset from the center line of 80 feet in each direction at a scale of 10:1. Again, the draw preferences for existing and proposed within the cross-section view. We OK our preferences, and we're able to next into the roadway wizard. We're going to create a new object called roadway 1, and we're going to select the centerline element. Once that's highlighted, we get arrow directionals which show us which way the stationing will take place along this center line. The composite section file is extracted from our preferences, and the surface and volumes will be created based on our existing ground 1 object. When we press the next button, a few models are automatically created for us, as well as the design of the vertical alignment and the horizontal aspect of the roadway. Here we see our cross sections shown at 50 feet along the roadway. At this point, we can choose to define additional locations for cross sections and how they'll be draped, either on the existing ground and on the proposed model. When we click Next, the final model is created inside MicroStation's models. We also get a preliminary volume. Here we come to the models, and we see now, as well as the default, we have 2 more models. One is for the profile of the roadway, one is for the cross sections of the roadway. All 3 models are open in these 3 windows now. At this point, we can choose to use the vertical design tools to modify the vertical design of this center line. So we're going to minimize our cross section viewer and come to the profile view. As you can see, we have 2 vertices on our vertical alignment. We're going to add another vertice. We're going to go dynamic and choose another vertice. Choose our design speed. Once again, when we go dynamic, you'll see that not only can you see the cursor in the profile view, but also in the plan view. So as we choose this new low point, we're going to choose this point at the center line of the intersection of these 2 roadways. Once we decide that this profile is satisfactory, we can save it, and we'll give it the same name as before, thereby redefining this existing profile. We update our design, and our cut and fill volume should be closer to equilibrium. And the red line again represents our proposed, the green line represents the existing. We're going to Next. Here we have the option of adding additional profile elements. We also have the option of adding profile annotation as well as cross-section annotation. And finally, we finish with this first roadway object called Roadway 1. Again, we have 3 models currently in this DGN file. Our default master model, which we're looking at now. Our profile model, which contains the roadway profile. And a cross-section model, which we can navigate with the Civil Cross-Section Navigator. And this tool will navigate every 50 feet where we've cut a cross-section to show us our proposed design. We'll come back to the master model, and we're going to continue that same process using the modeler's roadway tool once again. Now our preferences are set, so we can simply come to the next roadway object, and we select our new element, define the stationing. Once again, the cross sections are cut at a 50-foot increment throughout this roadway. And we have the ability once again to use the vertical design tools to achieve our own vertical design based on these 3 views. So we're going to minimize our cross-section viewer, and we're going to come to the vertical design tools. Once again, we have a simple 2 vertice line here in which we have the ability to insert additional points. Choose our design speed, and once again place our low point anywhere along this roadway. We're going to choose a logical point so we achieve a low point within the crossing, the drainage crossing of the plan view. Once again, we accept our new profile as roadway 2, which is now redefined, so we can update our design. Again, the cut and fill balance should be closer to equilibrium, and we're able to then hit the next button in order to define any additional cross sections and profile elements. We're going to simply finish this and then choose to create our last roadway, called roadway 3. With this roadway, we're connecting the two vertices of the roadway 1 and roadway 2. Therefore, when we get to our proposed vertical design, you'll see that there is no need to modify this vertical design. So we can simply next our way through the wizard until we come to the finish dialog. And we're left with 3 roadways. We can turn off our cut sections, and we're left with just the topography of the 3 roadways, which is still in a display only mode. We can now use any of the analysis tools to cut simple profiles. Which is really not necessary since we now have additional models, one for each roadway, for the profile and for the cross section.